Hey everybody, welcome back into the House of L. This is Derek, and I'm excited to be talking to one of my good friends and Superman historian, the Professor, Michael Bailey, back in the House of L today. How are you, sir?
It's funny you call me that because I had somebody at work the other day. It's like, did you ever have a nickname as a kid? I'm like, no, but as an adult, yes.
As a full-grown man, they call me the Professor. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. It's funny because you said, hey, let's get together and do one of these. And I was like, well, what does he want to talk about? It's not an episode because he would have told me, to watch something.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
would have given you a
God.
heads up.
And I like to prep on this stuff. He's like, you want to talk about what we're going to talk about? I'm like, yes, I can do that. Like you know how those questions of like, could you do a 1 hour presentation on a subject just dead? I was like, yeah, this is definitely the one where I could do the TED talk on. So.
Same. That's exactly what I was going to say. What's your TED talk going to be? So we're going to be talking about one of your favorite storylines and mine from the comics, the death of Superman, as we've just reached another milestone anniversary. And to that effect, I have been waiting for this episode because I still have not opened my new Absolute edition that just came in the other day, and I have been dying to open it. So I thought I'd do it on air with you and get into all the goodies. Now, what I didn't get is that bad boy right there. I'm sick that I did not get it. I tried and tried and couldn't. So while I opened, wax poetic about how wonderful that thing is. If you're listening and not watching on YouTube, it is the Tombstone Absolute Edition.
The direct market edition.
The direct market Absolute Edition of Death of Superman.
It required a spotter getting into the house because it was sent to me. I am blessed with people who send me stuff.
Have you uncovered who sent it yet?
Yes, I have.
Good.
So we got all that sorted.
Good deal. Because I was going to take credit if nobody else did. No, I wasn't, but I was going to say, hey, I need that back.
So the cool thing about it is the book that you have, which has the goodies in that are the real fun of that, is in the Tombstone is just a box to hold that. It's got like velvet on the top and all that. But inside, when you open it up, they sealed the Absolute into a bleeding. Well, sorry, I'm going to correct myself. A weeping S, because in the what is that called? Previews, solicitations for the month for when 75 came out. Whenever they would show like the bleeding S for merchandise, they would call it the weeping S for some reason.
Right.
I'm like, that's not like weeping is in like a
it's
wound?
like a willow tree. That's not. Yeah, that's not what I think of.
Yeah.
What I actually meant to grab. Keep waxing because I got to get something.
Okay.
Keep talking.
But no, and then it has one of the original sketches for Doomsday that you can. Let me get that out. One of the original sketches for Doomsday. They made 1,993 of these, and it's one of those things where anal retentive is hyphenated, and it should have been 1,992. Because it was 1992, but whatever. I'm not gonna do that. But it comes with a sketch that is numbered and signed by Dan Jurgens.
And signed by Dan. But that's only in that version that you
Yes, this is 62 of 1,993.
I will have it. It will be mine. I don't care what I have to do to get it. But I literally added both of them into my cart and fell asleep. And when I woke up a couple hours later, the Tombstone was already sold out. So I jumped on the other. So I'm opening live on air. Man, this is so cool. This just takes me back. If you've been listening to the House of L for a long time, oh my God, it's got a band in it. I didn't realize that.
It's got the band. It's got the poster. It's a much nicer poster than came in the original 75, by the way.
Sure. Certificate
it feels
of death?
nicer, at least.
Certificate of death.
Signed by signed by Dan Jurgens, by the way, as coroner.
Sure is. Look at that. Coroner Dan Jurgens. That's funny. Stickers. Again,
no,
if you've
aren't stickers, sir. Those are postage stamps.
They're the stamps, aren't they?
I have been
My
confused about
god,
that since 1992. I remember when I got my
I
copy,
didn't even
I opened it up and
realize.
I'm like, did they cheap out on this? Were they supposed to be stickers? And they're like, no, we could save like $1,500 if we
If
do
we just make them
stamps.
stamps, you can lick them and stick them to something.
Yeah. So
If you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, folks, you know this is while I have been a Superman fan since birth, and there's pictures of me as an infant running around, you know, in my cape and everything. This event is when I became a full-fledged fan. I had, you know, copies of comics growing up, but they were just like, let's look at the panels. Like, you know, Derek can't read yet and stuff like that. So when this happened, like I skipped school. I cut school to go get this. It was such when 75 came out. It was such a huge deal for me, and it stayed that way for me, and I love it's something that you and I share,
mm.
just our unbelievable passion for this storyline that I don't I'm glad DC look at that, it's bent. How dare they? I want a refund. You hear me, Midtown Comics? I, um, I I appreciate that DC does hold it near and dear to their own hearts because it was such an iconic thing at the time. Like most things now, the children tend to have their way with it and you know naysay it and then you know anything from the triangle area is always yeah it's not good and all that stuff
But the
which I
weird
don't
thing is that the Triangle era is experiencing a renaissance I never expected.
it really is.
We've had 2 omnibuses. They're putting out that Brainiac Reborn, which is a very it's kind of a disingenuous title because it's like 3
Yes,
issues out of the entire
yes,
thing. But
I thought the same.
when Jeff and I started From Crisis to Crisis in 2009, and you're like one of the few people that I could say things like that about, and it doesn't sound like in the old days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But when we started it, there was 2 blogs basically talking about it on the internet. And then we started and we found we were like, not only are we doing a niche podcast of Superman, we're doing a niche podcast of a niche era. And what I found is there was fans of that era that were just waiting for somebody to come along to help them like express that. So but this is the pinnacle of that era. This
It
is the
is.
storyline that literally it was international news.
Everyone said it was impossible that Superman could be dead. Now it appears that everyone was right. Entertainment Tonight has the scoop on the return of the Man of Steel, and there aren't enough capes to go around. He was conquered by an evil warrior named Doomsday in November. But faster than a speeding bullet, Superman will be zooming back to the comic pages in April. And DC Comics editor Mike Carlin says the new Man of Steel will be better than ever.
When all is said and done, most readers should get the kind of Superman they like the best.
In the current issue, Superman's death is being mourned worldwide. Even President-elect Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary are shown delivering a eulogy. But come April, Superman will reappear in 4 different forms, according to Carlin.
What we see at the end of this issue are 4 people who claim to be Superman. And we don't know if any of them are yet.
The final sketches are still being put together, but Carlin says Superman will take the form of a super-powered teenager, a steelworker, a determined warrior, and a cyborg from space.
Everywhere. I'm holding the News Time faux magazine, but I mean there were real news reports. When I was at the newspaper, I was a reporter for a period of time. I went back to the morgue and the morgue being where we housed all the old papers, and like we had it on the front page. You know, back then, it
It
was
was
in little
Labor Day weekend 1992. Not much was
yeah.
going on in the world.
Well, it was yeah. You know, we needed copy always, but even back then. But it was just crazy to me how big it became. I ran off to share this, and Matt Kruger, if you're listening, I haven't talked to you in years. I hope you still are because you were a good listener of the show. Matt Kruger sent me this in 2009. He made the House of L logo,
That is
a
cool. I
bleeding
like that.
version of it. I absolutely treasure that. I hope you're still around with us, Matt, to hear your name being said, because I really do appreciate that. What are your fond memories of? Because I think we've made references, but we've never really talked on air about
So
death. No, about death. Yeah, how do you feel about death?
how do I feel? I feel very strongly about it.
Yes.
I had been reading the Superman books for 5 years
Mhm.
by September of 1992, and I was like one person at my high school who read comics that followed Superman because he just wasn't a popular character at the time, and I took a fair amount of crap from it because this is the era of X-Men and Wolverine and Spider-Man and the Image guys broke big. And it was Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and the Morning Call was the paper of record of Allentown. And my dad would always put it on the counter, and I would always kind of leaf through it, reading the paper. Because in 1990, I did that, and I discovered that Lois and Clark were going to get engaged. I open it up this time, and they're like, Superman to die. Now, years later, I would discover that that was an article written for Newsday out of Long Island, New York,
Right.
by a gentleman named William McTiernan, who saw the Advance Comics, which was the solicitations for Capital City distributors at the time, and saw that that was going to happen. He's like, well, maybe we'll do an article on it. And it was literally the front page of the newspaper of Newsday. Somebody actually bought one off of eBay, and it's one of those artifacts that I want.
Wow.
But because nothing else was going on in the world, that's the article that got sent everywhere. And I was just like, holy crap, Superman's going to die.
Yeah.
I wonder when that's going to happen. And it turned out to be November. And the funny thing is, I was the Superman fan, but I'm not the Superman fan I am today. Then I was in a school play, and it was Saturday. We had our Friday performance, and it was Saturday morning. And I was looking at the paper, and there was an article. I have it scanned because I'm me. Of people standing outside of the Beachhead Comics in Allentown, waiting to buy their copy. And I'm like, holy crap, I haven't gotten my copy yet.
Yeah.
But I've got a play to do, and we've got the cast party, and I'm going to be unconscious tomorrow because we're up all night. So we did the play. I'm at the cast party, and this is where, when you get theater kids side-eyeing you, you've done something in your life, because we were
Been there.
watching.
As a
we were
theater kid.
we were watching Saturday Night Live, and they did a Death of Superman sketch,
Sure. Yeah.
which is amazing. Al Franken is Lex Luthor and has the best line ever in it. But Sinbad was the host, so he's playing Black Lightning. Now, this is before Black Lightning is a television star, and he's trying to get Batman to recognize him. And I'm just standing in the back of the room, and I say out loud instead of in my head, Batman should totally recognize him. They were in The Outsiders together. And
And everyone turned and said, "Get out."
So I was sick the next day, and I was sick at home from school on that Monday. And I realized I still hadn't gotten my copy, and I'm like freaking out about it. But then I remembered I actually had a box at the comic shop. So I called them up and I said, hey, did I get a copy in my box? He's like, yeah, it's sitting here waiting for you. So my mom drove me, because I didn't have my license yet, even though I was 16. My mom drove me to the comic shop that night. She gave me the money to buy it, and I bought the entire storyline up until 75. And took it home and read it. So it's like, and that was one of the last times my mom did that for me.
Do you still have your originals within reach? Look at you. Look at you. I love it.
No, I haven't. No, Derek, you have to understand. This is an illness, because this is a sealed copy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another sealed copy.
Same.
My original copy. Another copy I found outside of the bag.
Yeah.
Platinum edition.
Platinum.
All 4 printings of the newsstand, which all have different color logos. And this is where it gets to be the illness.
Not yet, but
I have the Millennium edition.
there you go.
the dollar comics from like 2019,
Yeah, I forgot about those. I don't have that one.
the 30th anniversary special edition,
Mhm.
one of the hologram things from that
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and all 3 of the facsimiles that just got released.
Round of applause for the professor.
I was showing them to my wife the other day, and she's been with me for 26 years now. She puts up with everything, and even she was just like, it's like a magic trick. I was just kept
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
just keep
yeah,
pulling.
the string just keeps coming out of out of the mouth and everything. I don't have as many, but I am like that in the regard of if a new version comes out, I get it. Now, I've got, the novel. I
Mhm.
had the junior novelization,
Yep.
when
The
I was a kid, which I
first
still have.
time Alex Ross was professionally drew Superman.
Now that I did not know.
That was the first time he was
With,
paid to draw Superman.
Doomsday's huge
Yep,
fist coming out of the
fist and him
mountain and
flying. Yep, that was his first.
huh,
It wasn't his first professional work, but it was his first professional Superman
first
work.
professional Superman. That's neat. Yeah, I tore that thing up reading it
Mm-hmm.
and then had all my other copies take up a huge portion. You can probably see right there, just about all of that is Doomsday stuff behind me. So that's the hardback version, and then I've got all the individual trades that came out,
The
and then
3 omnibuses.
right, and then all the other stuff that's come out, the Wake, and then
Mm-hmm.
the Death version that was Lois when Lois kind of became, I forget what's the name of that one. I've totally blanked on it.
The Tales of the Dark
Yes,
Multiverse or
Tales of the
something.
Dark Universe. Yes, yes. When Lois became enraged after the death and everything, and then all my floppy copies as well. And I go back and pull them out way more than I probably do any other comic that I own, that I've amassed over the last 4 decades. There's something about it, and I guess I was just that right age. I'm a few years younger than you, but I was just so enamored with that storyline, and I still am. And I even to the point now where I feel like it gets, I don't want to say overused, but there's been a lot of iterations of it, whether it be animated or live action over the past decade, I guess is probably the I'd say 10 years.
Yeah,
Is that a good
it's one
I
of
guess you
those
could go back
things.
to I guess you could go back to '06, go say 20 years with Superman Doomsday, the first animated DC film, but
Yeah, the thing about the story is that because it captured national and international attention at the time, it's one of those kind of lightning rods. I call it the last party because like the next year is when the market bottomed out and they had the crash, which people will blame on Adventures of
people
Superman
blame
number
on it. Yeah.
500, and I have problems with that, both general and specific.
Go
But
into that a little bit. Put a pin in where you're going because I want you to speak on that because I
okay.
agree with you on that, but for our listeners, I want you to
So
expound.
the speculator bubble that had been growing since the late 80s burst in 1993, and it burst for a number of reasons. But Adventures 500 is the whipping boy is because people ordered Superman 75 in like great numbers, but it was still a surprise at how successful it was. So comic shops, not wanting to be caught flat-footed, ordered dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of copies of Adventures 500, and that was really apparent a year later when I was able to get a bagged copy for $1.
And that was just copies for you.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Sorry.
yes. No, that's fair. No, I'll accept that. But the thing
You're the
is
reason the
that
market bottomed.
but because it didn't break as big as Superman 75, it sat in unopened boxes, sat in the back room of comic shops, and they're like, well, that's what did it. It's just like speculator bubbles burst. It just happens. You had Image Comics coming in roaring in 1992, but then not delivering on product. Like they would solicit stuff and it wouldn't show up because it just wasn't produced, and then it would come in later and people stopped caring. People realized they couldn't put their kids through college on comics, so
Yeah.
they stopped
Yeah.
buying them.
Yeah.
So it was with any kind of economic burst, there were a number of factors, but everyone likes to blame Adventures 500 because it's an easy target. So that
Yeah.
was
No,
that
I'm
that,
with
that
you on that. Now, how many
that's my
500
diatribe on
copies? How many 500 copies do you have?
that. I
'Cause I
have the
think I only have
platinum.
2. I think, yeah, I think I've only got 2 or
I
3.
because I got some kind of cheap a couple years ago. I have one sealed, one opened, and I peeled the vellum off of it
Mhm.
because the thing had a thing for some reason it was able to be peeled off, and I have the newsstand edition, and that's the one I bought the night of my junior prom. I went to a party afterwards at my friend Jody's apartment, and we went to 7-Eleven, and I walked in, and back when 7-Eleven still had comics, I was like, "Adventures 500! Oh my god!" So I was easy to impress at 17, just to let you know. But and then yeah, and then I do have the platinum one of that, which I was shocked to discover that there was a platinum version of that.
Mhm.
And for those that are like, Mike, you keep saying platinum version. DC at the time would send shops if they ordered a certain number of copies, they would send them a bagged copy that had a silver for 75. It was the silver bleeding S, and that was a rock solid $30 wall book all through the 90s. Every comic shop I ever went in had it on the shelf for $30. Now it's several hundred for
Mhm.
for obvious reasons. But yeah, so that's my diatribe on stop blaming this on Superman, you jerks.
How dare you? All right,
How dare you?
now back to burn in hell, Steve Glosson. Now back to sorry, that's just a joke for you and me,
I
and Steve,
was about to say,
and Steve. So, but as far as iterations of it go, something that they kind of do go back to the well with it a lot. We've had 2 animated versions, I guess
uh-huh.
3 if you count Death and Return being a part 1 and a part 2. Although didn't they put those together in
Yeah,
one? I don't own that,
yeah,
but
they did.
didn't they combine those in one version as well?
They have the Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman, and then the Death and Return of Superman is the whole thing that has a little extra footage as a
Combined.
bridging
Okay.
sequence to kind of make it one big long movie. And then you
I guess I
have
should get that. I don't have that.
it is worth it because I s- I have problems with the second part only because I'm one of those people that if you throw out a concept, it's definitely worth it. I think the most recent, the two-parter that is now one, is a better adaptation of the actual story. Superman Doomsday is what you remember when soundtracks were music from and inspired by, but they weren't
Right,
music from
right.
the actual movie? That was Superman
Yeah.
Doomsday. This is inspired by the death of Superman, not adapting the death of Superman.
Listen, 2006 was it didn't matter if it had the S on it, I was buying it, like,
Mhm.
left and
No,
right,
me too.
everything, and, of course and we got so many good things out of that. I mean, we got Lois and Clark. Obviously, we got Returns. I know that doesn't amount as much for you as it does for me, but, you know, and then we also we got Brainiac Attacks, but we also got, Superman Doomsday, which yes, inspired by. I would say that's in the same way that I keep seeing ads for Wuthering Heights, and it has it in quotations because it's clear how much that is not the source material that they're pulling from on that. The logo is literally in quotation marks. But I remember watching that night and being so disappointed um, that that the 4 Supermen aren't in it, that they didn't go that route with any of it, and I was like, "This is not the death of Superman." I guess that's why they didn't call it the death of Superman.
The thing that on to defend the besmirching that just happened, it's not that I don't appreciate Superman Returns as a thing, and how
Uh-huh.
special it is. I mean, we're 20 years out
Do
now.
you want a shovel before you remember what show you're on? You want a shovel before you keep going?
I was just defending myself on that. The only thing I'm
Okay.
disappointed is the only thing I'm disappointed in is I covered it last year, so I can't do a 20th anniversary thing of it this year, but I figured out something, so I'm kind of happy about that. The when it came out, the Superman Doomsday came out. They also released the first omnibus of the Death and Return.
Mhm.
And it's you want to talk about disappointing, they gutted Funeral for a Friend. Like, most of Funeral for a Friend is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
in that omnibus. But they put on the dust jacket, not on the cellophane that covers the book that comes in. They put on the dust jacket, now a major movie, and it's like an advertisement for the
Motion. Yeah,
DVD
yeah,
on the dust jacket, and I will never forgive
yeah.
them for that. But it's one of those things where you talk to people who love this era and love this story, they'll tell you that that movie was worth it for the Requiem for a Superhero documentary that came on it, with where they interviewed all of the creators
Mhm.
as it's like the reason to get it was the special feature.
Right, yeah. I bought this for the documentary, not for the
Yes.
movie.
Because it was the
It's fair.
first time we
It's
ever
fair.
really learned. It was the first time in any kind of official capacity DC talked about it. Because this is one of those things that it's just like, and my favorite criticism is they did it just to make money. Well, yes, that's what they do. They sell comics.
That's called business. Yeah.
They're not in this, they don't pay the artists, and like, it's not like a company store where they can go and buy their food and stuff. They actually pay them
Right,
money. But
right.
it was a story that came out of necessity because Mike Carlin and Jeanette Kahn were trying to develop this series that eventually became Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. And Siri just woke up for some reason.
Hello.
And so they were basically careening towards the wedding. And they're like, well, we can't marry them here because we want to marry them on the show. So they throw out a year's worth of planning, and eventually we get the death of Superman. And it's just one of those things where I think, to go to your question of why they keep going back to the well, it's because it's a story that I think captures people's imagination, because even now, especially now, as we're in this renaissance of Superman fandom, which I'm still confused and kind of like,
Bewildered, but enjoying.
yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, is everyone here just making fun of me or not?
Yeah, yeah, no, I feel the same way. I'm like, I feel like you all gathered today just to mock me.
But it's something that, one, sells, but two, when done right, it's a compelling story. The Superman Doomsday wasn't as good as the two-part animated films from a couple years ago, but that's because the ones from a couple of years ago, one, took the time to do it over two movies and included all four of the Superman. But what they did more than anything is that they made you care about Superman at the beginning, so that when he dies, it actually means something.
Yes.
And it was the same for Superman and Lois. I hold that of all the adaptations of Doomsday, Smallville, Batman v Superman, the animated films, I feel like Superman and Lois did it the best of all of them and captured in their own way what the comics did, as close as anybody has gotten it. So it's just one of those things that it's I think there's a certain number of people that are like, I just want to watch him die again, which, you're broken as a human being if you think that. But it's something that DC, more than anything though, and I hate to say this, it's something DC can sell.
Oh, it is. It is. And I'm with you on the Superman and Lois front. Obviously, we covered that show for all 4 seasons here in the House of L. I was a little weary when that's where it was clear we were going at the end of season 3, and that was going to be the majority of season 4 on a slashed, and I say slashed like I've never said slashed before, budget, when we were literally axing cast members and bringing them back for 1 or 2 episodes just so we could be able to afford what the show needed to be able to do. I still think it's the best looking Doomsday. Not that there's been a huge amount of live action ones again, Batman v Superman. I have a hard time topping the Krypton version, the practical puppet
Yes.
slash CG, because I was so enamored with that thing. Of course, I loved Krypton on Sci-Fi, but I thought them having him on there was phenomenal and had a great looking version. But that giant boy we got in the final season of Superman and Lois just felt so Doomsday esque. Obviously, had to do something a little different. It's actually Bizarro Superman becoming Doomsday in that iteration, but whatever. I still wonder if there was another route to go there. Maybe if they had adapted the death of Clark Kent instead of. I feel like you and I have talked about this before because I do love the death of Clark Kent, and I think since they were living in Smallville that you could do the Kenny and Conduit story. Whatever. That's not what we're talking about here today. Do you like the death of Clark Kent? Have we ever actually talked about the?
I have a lot of affection for that storyline.
Okay, same.
Mainly because I love Conduit in a way that's probably not healthy.
I love Conduit in a way, and I won't say probably. I definitely love Conduit in a way that's not healthy. When I saw him on that Spider-Man cover the other day, that Superman
with
Spider-Man cover,
cardiac.
the glee that came out of my mouth.
That cover could be more 90s if it was wearing acid wash jeans, a flannel button down tied around its waist, and listening to
And
Temple of
Doc
the Dog. I
Martens.
swear to God. Yeah, he's got to have Doc Martens. It's just one of those things, man. No, it's Death of Clark Kent is one of those story, and it was a big story. It was coming out of Superman number 100, so they were celebrating an anniversary. The creative teams did get kind of, I don't want to say trapped, but they got kind of locked into doing these big storylines because the Death in Return did so well. It's just like the bosses are like, okay, do that again, please. But the key to that is not only the awesomeness that is Conduit, who got an action figure, by the way, after he was killed off in the books, which was fascinating about production lead times,
Still have mine right over there.
is Adventures of Superman number 525, which is one of the epilogue issues where where Clark is just like, I'm not going to be Clark Kent again. And Lois is like, you're being an idiot. And it's an entire issue which basically shows why he needs to be Clark Kent. And so it's worth it just for that, in my opinion.
I agree. I've always held that story near and dear to my heart too, because again, just at that right age, I was reading actively at that time. Conduit was, I mean, for a teenage boy, like Conduit was one of the coolest villains, just a badass design, everything all around for that. So, of all the, and then you've got Smallville, like you mentioned, of course, and obviously that being a little bit different because it's almost a merger of the two because it is Doomsday. It does have lasting ramifications, but it is kind of the death of Clark Kent because once Doomsday is defeated in the end of the episode, Clark turns his back on humanity. He dons all black and he's goes into, blur mode all the time.
I remember watching that season and I was kind of fascinated by it because Smallville always had a tendency when they were adapting something big to do like a swerve and having it be that it's Davis Bloom. I don't think that works as well if you don't have Sam Witwer playing Davis Bloom, in my
No,
opinion.
that was highly dependent on whoever they
Yeah.
cast as Bloomsday.
So,
And sorry, had
sorry.
to.
Every time I hear that name, I just chuckle and laugh because it's funny.
Yeah, you on this show you either get Bloomsday or charismatic paramedic, one or the other.
Yeah.
But that's those were our two idioms for him.
But no, you don't. It doesn't work as well. And in this day and age I am of being kind of more zen about things, all things Superman, I look at it like, there's an entire generation of people who are watching that show that had never read the Death and Return arc. This is their version of the character. If you're invested in Smallville, then it's going to be your version of Doomsday. So it's why I try not to do much to yuck someone else's yum in that respect. But they tried. I think when you compare it to Superman and Lois, it's like Superman and Lois, they're fighting on the moon. and in Smallville, they're fighting on that one street
That
on the
one street they
backwash.
had. Well, now look, I mean, and there's some amazing parallels you can draw there between the slash budget of both of those series,
Mhm.
how
Yeah.
much got removed for season 8 of Smallville and season 4 Superman Lois, and both of those seasons doing something so outlandish, like having one of the biggest storylines ever, making that their villain for the season in a season where they couldn't really afford it. I mean, talking about yucking somebody's yum, look, I know the Smallville suit is bad. It's just not great. Now, for what it is on a television budget in
Yeah.
2009, it's pretty freaking great. And as long as you keep him in the shadows, I mean, there's times like in Bride and a few
Mhm.
other episodes, not actually the Doomsday episode itself, the season finale, which probably is the worst season finale of the series, but I say that like saying it's the worst piece of pizza you've ever eaten. It's still not
Yeah,
bad, it's pizza.
it that what that is when you get pizza at school, like, when you're in high school and they brought in,
Yeah,
like, Pizza Hut, and the kid in front of you got the big slice, and you get the really little slice. That's the season finale that is.
yeah, yeah. And so, like, yeah, I say that anytime I ask me what's my least favorite episode of Smallville, my least favorite episode of Smallville is still an episode I'll watch 100 times. Like, it's magnetic if anybody's wondering, but it's not one that I'm just gonna skip over. Like, I still watch it in the lineup, but that's neither here nor there. So I can, and people always like to pull out the picture from the suit tests that they did with it, where I mean, he's literally standing. The actor's name has completely escaped me, excuse me. I know it. I'm blanking. Anyway, it's the costume test. They're literally standing in Lex's mansion taking the pictures against a white backdrop. And yeah, it looks a little cheesy. It was a costume test. People
Yeah.
always, when they do those comparison things like on Instagram and stuff, and they're always like, here he is in Batman v Superman, and here he is in Smallville. I'm like, that's not like, use this image from Bride when he's like got his hand around Chloe's throat or something. Like, use a pretty good shot where amazingly he did look well in the darkness and the shadows of season 8, because there are times where it looked really captivating, and there's times where it didn't look so great.
It's that show constantly swung for the fences,
Hmm.
and it is the least popular kid asking the prom queen out, like, season after season when they try things. I remember watching some earlier episodes a couple years ago, and I'm like, "Wow, they really went for it." Like, right away. Like, that doesn't age well special effects wise, but they tried
Yep, they
at
absolutely, and
least.
some of it surprisingly has aged well.
Mhm.
For what, if you think about again, a 2001 a WB. I mean, the channel that was bringing us Dawson's Creek. Like, if you think about it, like, it's really, I'm not knocking Dawson's Creek. I love Dawson's Creek, but there weren't a whole lot of special effects on that show. And so when you've got a teen drama, really, again, like you said, swinging for the fences, some of that stuff turned out pretty well. Now, even at the time, some of it did not. I could think of several instances where I'm like, "Ew, that's," and especially once the Blu-rays came out, I was like, "Oh, that did not that did not come over well." But even when you get to, and season 8 is a great turning point for this, because it was the first season they didn't shoot on film. It was the first season where it's digital,
Mhm.
and it looks a little wonky. The greens are weird in the season, which is weird because you've got Hartley back as Green Arrow as a full-time cast member in season 8. But there's just some things that look a little wrong with it. And when you've got 4 new showrunners, you've lost so many members of your cast, you've lost your big bad, you've lost, Rosenbaum's gone, Alan Miles are gone, Kristen's gone, and you're trying to do something new, and you're like, well, if we're going to go the opposite direction of what we're doing, Doomsday is a hell of a pick, but it's also one of those things where, like, if you watch a season 2 episode and then you follow it up with a season 8 episode, the whiplash you get from how very different things get 6 years later is crazy.
Yeah, it's like watching first season Superboy and then going to like the fourth season, and it's just
Yeah.
like this. I mean,
Why are we in the
different.
X-Files?
That is an excellent point, but
I thought he was at community college. What's happening here?
it's Schuster University was a fully accredited university, sir. Do
That's
not
true. I'm sorry. It
disparage.
was not a community college. It was not a
Do
community
not
college.
besmirch it. And the Schuster Herald was top tier college
Top
newspaper.
tier.
But the thing is, though, is just that this is something that because of it being commercial, if it was just a cash grab, it wouldn't work again and again and again. I remember a friend of mine let me know what was happening, and it was one of the few times where I knew something ahead of time and had to keep my mouth shut. When they did the 30th anniversary special, the big thing they did with all the different covers and such,
Mm-hmm.
all they
Which
released.
I bought every single one of them.
Me too.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you, Jared from First Edition Comics, which is sadly no longer a thing. But he hooked me up for those and for Action 1000. I was well taken care of. When a friend of mine who I will not name let me know that it was happening, and then all they did was just release the Weeping S image and said announcement tomorrow. And I feel terrible because I've been part of the Superman homepage since 2001. I'm good friends with Steve, and he messages me. He goes, "Do you know what this is about?" So I'm like, I don't want to lie. So I go, I think it might have something to do with the 30th anniversary of the death of Superman. And threw my phone across the room.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's just one of those things where when it happens, people get excited. You have 3 omnibuses at this point. The third most recent one literally has everything. And when I say has everything, I mean it has the Bloodlines annuals,
Mm-hmm.
which frequently get left out of the conversation, sometimes for good reason. Who said that?
Yeah. Hey, somebody under here.
But also, it is the first time in the reprintings
It's the
that
Maccabees.
that you. But it's the first time 75 has been reprinted where they did the fold out of the death.
Yes.
And Dan Jurgens was very happy about that. I refer to that as a load-bearing omnibus. If anything needs shoring up in the house, I will wrap it in plastic and just
a beast. Yeah.
But now we've had, there was the original trade paperback that came out like weeks after 75 came out, which did not happen at the time. Oh, by the way, did you know there was a platinum version of that?
Yep. I don't have it. That's one thing I don't have. I'm guessing you do.
My friend Shag gave me a copy because he was
go.
working for a comic shop at the time, so he gifted that to me. And we've had like a bunch of reprintings. There was a hardcover of it, like around 2014 or so. They did a bunch of hardcovers that also came with the Blu-ray and DVD of the animated film it was based on.
Yep.
I have a UK reprint because I'm me, but you now have the deluxe editions that came out on the 35th anniversary that had 2 versions, a direct market and a regular. And now you have this absolute version. And the cool thing about the absolute version, the book that you have, is it not only reprints the story, it has a bunch of extra stuff in the background, in the back of it. It covers the BBC audio adaptation.
Nice.
That Dirk Maggs did.
Mm-hmm.
And it is such a beautiful book in one of those ways that I think it captures why it's been such a thing all these years.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing that I push back on now that I used to not is that when people would talk about the death of Superman, they're like, well, the Doomsday storylines, that there isn't much to that. It's the funeral for a friend and the rain. That's the real meat. And I'm like, I think you're leaving a lot on the table there, because when you look at that final battle, there is a lot going on in there that isn't just a mindless fight.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have some silly things. Mitchell Anderson, By the way, I wish you would have been a fly on the wall when I was sitting there talking to Steve about season 2 of Superman and Lois. And it's just like, yeah, there's a character named Mitch Anderson. The look on my face must have been like, what?
Where did they pull that from?
I was just like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
like not as deep a cut as the name of Roger Corman's Sue Storm in season 4
Mhm.
of Superman and Lois, which was pulled from Superman Aliens, but
Right,
still
right.
pretty deep cut. But when I completely lost my thing telling that Mitchell Anderson story.
As one.
No, it's just, but still, you have start of the fight, you have the Justice League end of it, and everyone's just like, it's the also ran Justice League, and I'm like, yeah, and that's actually what makes it work. If it was
Yeah, I would agree with that.
in the animated film, they have like the actual Justice League fighting it, and that's a really exciting fight scene. But there is something about Blue Beetle and Booster Gold and Bloodwind and Maxima, a soon to be star of Screen Maxima, I'm assuming,
Mhm.
and those characters going up against this monster and getting annihilated before Superman shows up. Superman's just chilling, getting interviewed by Cat Grant because that's how he rolls. But and then you have him stopping to save Mitchell Anderson's family. He has got a chance to take him down, but he's like, no, I got to go save these people. So there's all these moments in that story that are emotional. Yeah, Funeral for a Friend is the gut punch, but Doomsday is not just a mindless slugfest of a story for 6 issues. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You call it a soapbox, but it's really the omnibus you're standing on top of
Well, I got to look
because
taller because I am rather
it's
short.
taller than a soapbox. Do you have a favorite? I assume now it's probably your tombstone, but before that, before receiving that, and I can't imagine what the look on your face was when you saw that the other day and opened it. But do you have a favorite item that the death of Superman related item that you're like a holy grail of? It may not even be something that's rare, but just special to you.
Getting the platinum edition as I did, it's in really bad condition, but I was really glad to find it because by the time I got around to buying it is when it went like stupid expensive for some reason. It's funny. You would think, the Tombstone thing is great. I love all the collected editions I've gotten. As my friend Shag gave me the platinum of the trade paperback just because it was one of the last times literally that my mom like got me something basically. She was like, I was like, I don't have enough money to get all this. She's like, here's $10. And I went in and bought it. I think it's those original copies because
Yeah.
it was a time where I was 16. I should have been grown out of this by now, right? I mean, because that was our generation. But she knew it was important to me. And now a close second is the standard copy I have of The Absolute Death of Superman because I made a funny TikTok, because I do that now, uh,
Hmm.
about how
Which
I
I
couldn't
love.
get it, yet. And the next day, my sister Jane said, "Your sisters, I have 3 older sisters, got you an early birthday present. It'll be there tomorrow." And the book showed up the next day. So it's just like those it's all about family, I guess, at that point, because apparently my life is the Fast and Furious all of a sudden. That's the laugh I was looking for.
I got it.
That's not
You got it.
that's that's not quite funny enough to get a guffaw, but I'll give you a smile and a head nod.
I
No, it's
felt it in
just
the back of the throat, though. You got it.
the one thing I don't have that I want is the bookends.
Yeah, I don't have those either.
It's a Superman Doomsday bookends where Superman is like getting punched by Doomsday through the books, and eventually I will get it so I can have my Death of Superman shelf, a
Absolutely.
proper one, a shrine, one would
So
say.
I saw. Did you pull out your signed Brett and Dan copy? Is that did I saw you pull that out? What number do you have of that? 'Cause I
of the
also have my
sketch
certificate of death.
of that one. No,
You have that one? Yeah.
I don't have one that's officially. This one was given. I sent this to a friend, and he got Dan to just sign it at a
Oh, I
convention.
gotta sign it. So, yeah, so I've got this one that's 7,500 were done. I've got 2,480, but it's also got the certificate of death.
Is that from one of the home shopping networks?
You know, it might be. It may be QVC now that you say that.
Because do
I
you
honestly
remember
can't
that
remember.
QVC did a bunch of Death of Superman stuff
Mhm.
with
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah. Oh, you and I have talked about the QVC Batman Forever that I bought. I think my grandmother bought everything from it, all of it. So I was pulling out my 500s that I have 3 of. But my favorite thing, which is just really stupid, is I had all the trading cards
Mhm.
also, and for whatever reason, me as a kid, because I was what? How old was I? 8? I don't know. But I took the trading cards and stapled them to all my copies for whatever reason. I don't know. If
It
you're
made
watching
sense
on
to you at the
YouTube, you can
time.
see. It made sense in my head at the time, but I still have all these. So I have all my copies and the trading cards stapled in to their corresponding pages. I treasure that. It's dumb. Of course, they're not worth anything anyway, but they wouldn't be with
But
these.
that's not
But
the
they're worth
point.
something to
Is that
me. No,
yeah?
no.
It's one of those things where like the value of the story, like just on like a back issue market, is kind of negligible.
Hmm.
You can still get a 75 sealed in the bag for like $30. It's not like you were never going to put your kids through college with it. You are still never going to put your kids through college with it.
No,
But
no.
to me,
Or the beanie babies.
yeah, I think that's the only form that Death of Superman has not been merchandised yet is a Beanie Baby
Yeah.
collection. I mean, when Bloomsday gets his own Funko Pop, I mean, we're on a completely different level.
Doomsday Max, which I still don't understand where the Max comes from. I asked Brian Q.
Well,
Miller
it was
that.
during a time period where the streaming service was going through a thing, so they were trying to do a
Dude, we
tie-in
don't know
to.
what we're calling it, so we'll call this thing Max.
But I love stuff like that because this is one of those things where people who come to this story today are coming to it as like history, basically. I am going to. I recently had to rebuild my website. One of the first things I'm going to publish after it goes officially live at the end of February is I'm going to write an article called "So You've Decided to Read the Death and Return of
The
Superman,"
Death of Super.
to kind of prep them for things because it's like, okay, Lex Luthor looks like Amish Lex Luthor, and here is why that is. Supergirl gets punched in the face and her face goes to goo. I know that's
Yeah,
weird,
it turns into
but here's why that
yeah.
is.
Here's why, because it's not gonna explain it to you.
But and I recently heard a year or so back, my friend Andy and his son covered it on their show, covered the entire storyline over 3 episodes of their show Hey Kids Comics. And his son, Michael, just turned 30,
Mhm.
so he wasn't even alive when this stuff came out. And he had some criticisms of the story that have to do with the differences in storytelling then as now, which are fair. But regardless of all that, for those of us that were there, this is our Woodstock, apparently.
Yeah,
For those of
it's
us
true.
that were there, it was an event. It was something that was really exciting because if you were reading the Superman books, like I said, I had been doing it for 5 years at the time. I felt like it was a massive payoff to me. If you were just getting into it, it was a really good time to get into it because not only did you have the entire story, but when the novelization came out, that explained a bunch of stuff that had been left out of the original telling. Yep. So, but because of that, you stapling your trading cards to it as a 8, 9-year old, that's priceless because
Mhm.
just meant that's how excited you were at the time. It's just like, "Oh, I've
Yeah.
got this, and this is the card that goes with this cover." So, I
Mhm.
totally understand why you did that, and I'm glad you never got rid of them.
No, nor will I ever, nor will they'll live on. Yeah, I was as we were flipping, this is one of my favorite covers of all time, 505, holographic fireworks
It's
after he's back, but
it's silvery,
I know,
shiny.
but I do love the house ads in the back because it does have the Roger Stern novelization and the Louise one, which I just like I said, I don't even I know I've got it still, but, like, I need to buy a new copy of it because I just tore it to shreds
I am,
reading it.
as a snarky adult, amused at the idea of a young reader version of the death of Superman. It's just like
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I vividly remember stuff from it too. Whatever.
how do you make that easier
Yeah.
on a young audience?
He's just sleeping.
Superman got an owie.
It's just a nap. On that note, before we go, I wanna ask you just because 'cause I'm excited about this as well, and you're a huge Superman fan, obviously, but you're also a big Batman fan. I am so excited for, this Knightfall animated
Uh-huh.
trilogy that is coming out, and I wasn't I wasn't a big Batman reader. I was a Batman fan, had Batman toys, watched Batman stuff, but I didn't buy a ton of the comics like I did Superman. I bought some. But Nightfall was one that I followed very closely when it was coming out because I was obsessed with, Valley Batsuit Batman. I thought that was the coolest thing. If Conduit was the cool Superman villain for me at that age, then the Nightfall Batman suit was the antithesis of that. I'm still to this day, I'm obsessed with it. I wish there were more. I know there's a few images out there, but I wish there was some really good him alongside Superman stuff because I think Jurgens did one, but it was like for I don't remember what it was for, but it wasn't. It obviously wasn't some kind of official
He
release.
drew he drew, the Valley costume in Superman number 83 because it's the funeral for
Okay,
a friend epilogue. Because they're all going to Coast City to do, a ceremony. He invites
clearly I've just
Batman
forgotten that.
he invites Batman to go with him, and this is after Bruce has been taken out, and he doesn't use his X-ray vision, so he's like, "Wow, Bruce is really messed up right now. If only I could use my X-ray vision on that." You know what the funny
Yeah,
I
now
gotta
I'm
I
flipping.
gotta feel bad for Nightfall too, because Nightfall 1 was not a response to Death of Superman,
Right.
because that was in the planning stages, and you know that because do you know when the Vengeance of Bane special came out? The same month that Superman number 75 came out was
Okay.
when
Well,
the
there you
Vengeance
go.
of Bane. So, it was sucking up a lot of oxygen, so this huge Batman story that's like leading into this giant Batman story gets big-footed by Superman dying. But
Yeah,
no, I'm excited for it mainly because they
forgot about
won
that.
me over very, very early by saying Tim Drake was going to be Robin in it.
Yeah, yeah, same.
Because if you don't have Tim Drake as Robin in that, if they had like had Damian as Robin in that, I would have been like, no, no, you're not doing the story
Well,
at
and
all.
that's one of my chief complaints with the Death and the Rain two-parter is it takes place within the continuity of
Of the time period.
those films, and I'm like and, every time they wanted to tell a Batman story, they would go outside the continuity and, give it its due, give it
Deferential.
justice. I hate to say justice, but it would they would actually, like, create a new world within that story, and this one was just another drop in the hat for that Justice League War and all of those that they did, and I wasn't a huge fan of those. They're fine, but the fact that they wrapped that up in that same continuity irked me.
Now that's how they wrap that whole thing up is a whole other conversation because
Yeah. Yeah.
the Justice League Dark Side War animated film comes out of the Reign of the Superman film
Right.
with how they did things. But no, it's just I'm excited because Nightfall, like Like the Superman and Batman titles of the time, they they were both properties that had multiple titles associated with it, but
Mhm.
they did things very differently. The Superman titles had the triangle numbering system. Everything, like when you read The Death and Return of Superman, you're reading a story from beginning to end.
Mhm.
There's a progression there. Whereas the Batman books, they had it connected for Knightfall, and then for Knight's Quest, they all the titles went off in their own directions. So
Right.
it's a little weirder to read because it's not as linear, and then
Mhm.
it all comes back for Knight's
Mhm.
End. I'm kinda hoping that they just choose the best of those middle bits because the actual
They'd have to, I would hope.
because the Knightfall movie, I don't know how you God, how are they gonna do it? Because
I don't
do
know. I
do
really
you do
don't.
a movie where halfway through Bruce Wayne is crippled, and then at the end, the final battle is Jean Paul and
Well, we're supposed to get 3. It's supposed to be a trilogy,
yeah, but there's 3 parts to
from
the
what I read.
story, so there's
Right.
Nightfall, Knight's Quest, and I'm
Knight's
tripping
Quest and
over
Knight's End.
Knight's whatever, so but do you, like, just do you do it like the original trades were, where you just had Nightfall and then Knight's End, and you just skipped
Yeah,
reprinting
you
Night
just
Quest
skip over that
completely?
stuff.
I don't
Or
it would
or
be
or as I used to call it, Night Send when I was a kid. I was like, "That's Night Send."
Knight's End?
Yeah. Well, it's night, and all the other ones get, it's
But
but
no,
I would think that's what they would have to do.
I'm excited for it mainly because I I did not read that as it was coming out. I was not,
Okay.
reading the Batman books at the time. I could barely afford the Superman titles on what meager money I had as a teenager. But I came to that later, and it's one of those stories where, like the Death and Return of Superman, it has a point, and that point gets lost a lot in current day commentary. And I get it, it's like us talking about stuff from the 70s or 60s. We weren't there for it, so we're just commenting on it as we're reacting to it now. So
Mhm.
it's actually why when I see like this podcast is doing an episode on the death of Superman, I really don't listen to them. Not because I don't like those people, it's just I don't want to be the well actually guy throughout
Mhm.
listening
Yeah,
to
I get
something.
that. Especially if it's people that weren't, like you say, weren't there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you it's so special because of the time period it came out in and what it meant to people. For a lot of people, it's how they started reading the Superman books. I think it's weird that you came when he's dying, but everybody gets interested for different reasons. I mean,
Mhm.
who am I to judge? I mean, I was there 5 years before that, but that just makes me sound like a hipster, so I'm not going to do that. But but Nightfall's kind of the same way. It was a time and a place where that story could be told in the way that it was. And they haven't done many adaptations of it. There was an episode of the animated series that had Bane in it where he doesn't break his bat. And Dark Knight Rises tried to reprint to redo 3 Batman stories in one.
Right.
We're gonna do Dark Knight Returns, Nightfall, and No Man's Land all in one film. No wonder that thing was like 3 hours long. But
Mhm.
I'm
And feels
glad
like
that they
16.
I'm glad that they didn't do a bad version out of the gate, which on the other hand, I'm really surprised they didn't do a bad version out of the gate because there was a time period in the mid 2000s to just a few years ago where like Batman got like 15 things a year.
Everything. Well, and it's almost like after Doomsday came out in '06, after that animated movie, it was like, okay, well, the next logical choice would be 87-minute version of Nightfall or, whatever. You just I'm glad they at least recognize in that press release I saw that it is gonna require more than just your standard, "Oh, we're making it PG-13." Okay, well, that's cool, but you also can't make it 90 minutes. You can't fit
Yeah.
all that in 90 minutes. There's too much going on. I mean, you literally would have to open the film with Batman and Bane's fight.
Yeah, you have to explain where Bane comes from. You have to explain who
Mhm.
Jean-Paul Valley is. I'm looking forward to people finding out that he's Jean-Paul Valley because Denny O'Neil named him after 2 of the Beatles. It's just oh, Denny. You have to you have to kind of explain where this Robin came from.
Yeah.
And it's possible to adapt it in, like, a 3-hour structure because the BB like, again, Dirk Maggs did that back in 1994.
Man, I haven't listened to that thing in forever. I need to
And
dig that
and
out.
we experienced it. I don't know if you got the cassette tapes. When that was originally aired, it was aired in 5-minute episodes when
Yeah.
it was on
Yeah.
BBC4.
Yeah.
And once I found that out, some of the weird things about how that thing flows made a lot more sense, but you can do it and you can make it work, but I'm glad they're giving it at least 3 movies because in my mind, you have to do a Sword of Azrael movie, you have to do a
Mhm.
Vengeance of Bane movie, and then you can do Nightfall.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not what they're doing, so
That's a lot of heavy lifting. Anyway, I know you and I have kind of briefly touched on Nightfall before, but with that looming, I wanted to know your thoughts. But thank you for coming on. It's always the best conversations when you're here, and I absolutely
I was really I mean, I'm always excited to talk to you, but when you, like, hit me with that, "Have you ever heard of the death of Superman?" I'm like, "Maybe in passing,
well,
I think
I'm just glad you appreciated that I did do it in my best, Senator Palpatine.
I think I
It's not
think I
a story the Jedi would tell you.
I think it was in the papers.
Yeah.
Literally, it was in the papers.
The fu- the funny pages. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but no, I always love coming and talking to you. You know that.
You're welcome here
Anytime.
anytime. Tell our listeners where they can find you.
The site is live. It's just not where I want it to be right now, but I lost the Fortress of Bailey Dude is gone. Long live the Bailey planet.
Mhm.
Thank you to my
That
friend
takes me
Gary
back.
for suggesting that, and thank you to Samo Yukinori for drawing me a logo that says Bailey Planet, which I can now put on a T-shirt,
Yeah.
which I really should.
Yeah. Yes, you
And
should. When you get
that
one, I'll order one as well.
that that will be where I am going to rebuild all the stuff that I had on the Fortress of Baileytude. But you can still listen to It All Comes Back to Superman and The Overlooked Dark Knight. Those are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio. And, you know, like if you have the Overcast app, you can find it through there because it just pulls from Apple, I think. I don't know how that's legal, but that's what they do. So, and I'm currently working on some different things. I'm going to finally finish up moving Kryptonian images over on It All Comes Back to Superman. When is this episode airing?
Friday. Today's Wednesday,
Friday?
Friday.
Okay. So in a couple weeks, I am very excited because it's going to be the Mark Waid interview that I did about Birthright is going to
Great.
be popping up. So, which was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
before that, I'll have an episode on Birthright specifically. Birthright to me is Superman Returns to You, I think, is something I love that
By
a
that.
lot of people don't.
And I love Birthright. I'm with you on that.
So, but yeah, yeah, I'm always around.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciated that. As for us, of course, you can find us wherever you listen to your podcast as well. Just search the House of L and we're there. Or you can listen online via our website, superhouseofl.com. If you were following along on our socials at Superhouse of L, wherever you do your social media, you saw that we hosting a contest that we were going to announce the winner for yesterday, but we had so many contestants, I thought, why not run it a little bit longer? So we're gonna announce that next week. The winner. There are 10 items up for grabs for our grand prize winner. Second place winner is going to take home a couple things. Third place winner is going to take home a couple things. But all three winners will take home a copy of Supergirl One of Tomorrow Compact Edition. And I think the grand prize, of course, is what everybody was clamoring for. That is a copy of Superman 2025 4K on Steelbook editions. If you want to find out how to enter that, go over to our YouTube channel. We are at Super House of L, and you can watch the video there and find out how to enter. And that's it. So, as we trudge on through 2026 and our 25th anniversary of Smallville, hope you'll stay tuned for our SV25 episodes coming up. Really excited about what's in store for the entire year. Professor Bailey, thank you again.
Pleasure as always.
We'll see you guys next time.